All right, guys, what to do if it's hot. If it's really hot and you get an animal down, we're going to quarter it, obviously, like we talked about. We're going to do exactly what we talked about in my other video when quartering. The only difference is before you put those quarters in those game bags, right, you take your pictures, you get to quartering as soon as possible. Get the hide off. Don't cut your tendons in the end pieces of the meat, right? But you want to cut on both sides of your quarter all the way to the bone, okay? Cut all the way down to the bone on both sides. The bone is what holds the heat. So if you can cut that meat away from that bone a little bit on every quarter, that's the biggest help. You're going to let out a ton of heat. Your game bags that you're going to put your boned out meat in, your neck meat, back straps, tenderloins, etc. Try to use more bags. The more bags you have, the better, okay? The more meat you have in one bag, the more heat that's going to hold. I've seen some stuff absolutely cringeworthy. People talking about putting, the old school thing was like you field dress your deer or whatever, and you put it in a brook and rinse it out. That's not necessary. If you don't cut the guts open, you don't get bile inside, there's no need to do that, okay? All of the meat is outside of that cavity. You're going to take your tenderloins out and the heart, if you want it, maybe the liver. But there's absolutely no need to throw it in the brook. All you're doing is potentially getting silt in there because you're in the brook also. You don't need silt getting in there, especially if you still have your tenderloins and your heart in there. If you made any cuts, on the inside by accident of the hindquarters or anything like that, like just totally not necessary. And you're introducing unwanted bacteria in that water. No water is as clean as you want it to be, unless you're in some very far off place. But in the Northeast, absolutely, that's a no-go. That water's full of bacteria. If you wouldn't drink it without filtering it, don't put your meat in it. I see people talking about putting quarters in a brook or processing animals in a brook. Just don't do it. Out west, 90-something degrees, hang out quarters, they're just fine. Cool, clean, and dry is the thing. Get them in a game bag, get them hanging, let the air get around them. If it's really hot, cut down to the bone like we talked about. If somebody's really convinced you need to put quarters in a brook or put an animal in a brook, you pull the quarter off, cut to the bone like we talked about, put it in a plastic bag. Do not close up the bag because it'll sweat, it'll condensate. That's not good for it either. Leave the top of the bag open and put it up against, some sort of a log jam or something in some shallow or cool water. Guys, honestly, it really doesn't do that much. It's not worth it. Cut down to the bone, put it in a game bag, get it hanging. No need to introduce, unwanted silt and unwanted bacteria. Cool, clean, dry. Get it hanging, get it in the shade. Hope this helps.